Good evening, everyone. This is Robert Jamieson, welcoming you to our first online chess lesson for 2014. My thanks to Daniel, who I understand has been filling in for me for the last few weeks while I've been overseas. But I'm very pleased to be back here today to have a lesson with you guys. I notice we have quite a number of new people, so I'll just set out what I normally do. So normally I log on about 6 o'clock. So if you want to log on early-ish, that's fine. And I have a puzzle each week for you there to have a look at or have a practice on before the actual lesson starts at 6:30. So if you want to log on a bit early and have a go at the puzzle, you're most welcome. Now, last year, most of the time, the format was we looked at a game. It could be a Grandmaster game, or it could be one of your games. Which is a really good way to improve your chess, just looking at your own games with your coach. So in terms of future lessons, if any of you have a particular game that you're puzzled by or you think was interesting or you think might be useful to learn something from, feel free to send it in to Chess Kids, and I might pick you as my guest student for that week, and we can look at your game. So feel free to send your games in. But today I'm going to do something a little bit different. Seeing this is our first lesson and we have some new students, I thought I'd start with the basics, the basic principles of chess, to make certain you all understand what is involved in becoming a good chess player and understanding the general principles. Now, the format, how we do the lesson, is I unmic various people one at a time and have a chat to them. So I might have a chat to Callum for 5 minutes, and then have a chat to Charlie for 5 minutes, and then Derek, and so on. So hopefully you all have a working microphone and a nice quiet room you're in with not too much static and background noise to disrupt the lesson. So be prepared for me to have a chat to you at any time. All right, now let's get started. I might have a chat to Callum. You there, Callum?
Yes.
Okay, you happy to get us started with this puzzle and see how we go?
Yes.
All right. So my first question is, it's black to play. Who do you reckon is better and why? So what do you think?
Black because it's in a more defensive position and attacker position.
So you reckon black's more attacking, so he's got a better position. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, if black's attacking, did you find a good move that is going to help his attack? What do you reckon is the best move?
I was gonna do knight g3, but the queen takes.
Yeah.
Rook
knight
e1.
Rook e1. Okay. So if I just take back with my rook, have you got a good follow up there?
Then you go
Queen, the knight, and the bishop.
well. Then you take on g3
With the knight?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can take you with the queen, though, can't I? So you've just lost your knight.
And then we queen swap trade.
You've lost a piece. I thought you said black was better. Now you're a piece down.
Oh.
Yeah, it didn't seem to work. All right. Now, maybe we can use general principles to help us a bit. So, chess is a war game. So let's have a little bit of a chat about warfare. So, have you heard of the Battle of Waterloo, Napoleon versus Wellington? You know anything about that? Very famous battle.
That was the one where Napoleon lost.
Yeah, he lost to the Duke of Wellington. All right, so let's suppose Napoleon and Wellington are about to start their battle. Now, what sort of things, what sort of factors would decide, possibly, who was going to win the battle? Can you think of any factor that might be relevant?
Who killed the most soldiers?
But we haven't started shooting yet.
Oh.
We just sort of, our troops are lined up and Wellington's troops are lined up. So what might decide who's going to be the winner?
The people with the most powerful weapons and tactical plans.
Yeah, if you had better weapons. What about number of soldiers? If Napoleon's got more soldiers than Wellington, that would be an advantage for him, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
All right, so you could look at number of soldiers would be a factor. What about who's the better general, Napoleon or Wellington?
Probably Napoleon.
So if Napoleon was better leader, then leadership could be a factor. Can you think of anything else that on the day might determine who's going to win the battle?
Well, Napoleon wasn't a good leader. Was a great leader, but not good teamwork.
Maybe. I'm thinking, what about the terrain of the battlefield? Because, for instance, if you were having a battle, if all your troops were on the top of a hill and the other bloke's troops are in the valley at the bottom, who's going to be in the better position?
The people that are valley at the bottom.
No, because if they want to attack, they've got to go uphill. Would you rather run uphill or downhill?
Or downhill?
I think it's a lot easier to go downhill. And in actual fact, in the Waterloo, Wellington was very sneaky. There was like a ridge, a high ridge, maybe 12 feet high or something like that, and he hid some of his soldiers behind the ridge. So the French troops were climbing up the ridge to do an attack, and they thought they were going to win easily. And then all of a sudden, Wellington used the terrain, so that his soldiers appeared at the top of the ridge and shot at the French, and that was sort of a big turning point. So Wellington used the terrain to his advantage. Maybe even the weather could be a factor. If it's really wet and boggy, maybe Napoleon's cannons and cavalry get bogged in the mud and they can't attack properly. So in warfare, there are various factors like that that might determine a battle. So in chess, I think there are 4 factors that we're going to talk about today, elements or whatever, that might help determine the outcome of a chess game. So in this specific position, let's everyone help you out a bit. I want you to think in this specific position, what is the key factor that might enable black to win? What is white's problem? So type in the questions, everyone. What factor do you reckon is important here that could give black the advantage? Not a move. I want a factor. Like in the instance of the war, we're talking about leadership, size of the army, weather, terrain. So Maha says black's attacking. Anyone else have any ideas? Queen is hanging. I'm thinking in general terms. So like materials equal, so that's not really a factor. They've both got the same number of pieces.
Big.
What do you reckon, Callum? Can you think of any factor that black has on his side that's a disadvantage for white?
A good advantage for white.
Well, we said black's better, so there must be a reason. He's not ahead on material. He hasn't got checkmate in 1. So what is the factor that causes him to be better?
The king. Well, if the king got checked from this position and nothing can stop it, it would be mate.
Yeah, the king's got no escape square. So basically, whose king is safer, black king or the white king?
Black king.
The black king. So the main problem for white in this position is his king's a bit airy. It's not tucked away safely. It's being attacked by a queen and a bishop and a knight and a rook and all that sort of stuff. So everything's pretty equal except white's king isn't safe. So if we were black, we're thinking, golly gosh, how can we bring home our attack? And black actually has a really brilliant move here that has a big threat and causes him to win in a couple of moves. So that's my big hint. So I'll give everyone one more go. Black's move. He's trying to exploit the fact that white's king is a bit open. So type in the question. If you can find a killer move for black, what would it be? You've probably got to be a pretty good player to see this move, but given that I've given you some hints, you might be able to. Derek's going rook takes rook. It's black's go, Derek. Or knight h4. I just take it. Maha's saying double rooks. Callum. All right, any last chance? Callum, any idea?
I'm thinking. Well, I'm thinking about putting the knight on e3, but it won't work.
Charlie's looked at bishop e3. Rachel's found it. What? Hang on, let's have a quick chat to Rachel. See if she's there. You there, Rachel?
Yep.
Tell everyone the really good move that wins for black.
Rook to e2.
Rook e2. Excellent. Well spotted. Thanks, Rachel. All right, Callum, you missed it. So the winning move, let's have a look. Rook e2. So now we're threatening checkmate on h2. So white has to do something pretty drastic about it. So what can he do? If he takes with the queen, what would happen, Callum? If he did queen takes rook, what would happen?
Knight g3, mate.
Knight g3, mate. So that'd be terrible. All right. So instead he takes with the rook. So what's black's brilliant idea? He just lost a rook for nothing, but he has a brilliant move. Can you see the follow-up? Look at all checks and captures. What about knight g3 check?
Okay.
Got to take with the queen. Then I zap your rook. Got to go down. Checkmate. Yay! What a brilliant sacrifice. Rook e2. All right. So not many people would look at that. But if you get the general principles that you work out that white's in trouble because his king's a bit open, maybe you'd look at funny moves like that, and that might help you win the game. All right, let's move on. I'll give someone else a go. So thanks for chatting to me then, Callum. All right, let's try Derek. You there, Derek?
Yes.
Right, okay. How are you tonight?
Good, thank you.
All right, excellent. Let's go back now, and I want to set up some positions. Someone talk to me. Here we go. Again, and we clear the board. Okay. Right now, we've said the first principle. Actually, I might write it down so we're keeping track of these things. So the first principle we need to consider is king safety. King safety. All right. So the question is, how? Because if we lose our king, we lose the game, obviously. So how do we make our king safe? What's the normal method?
Castling?
Castling, exactly right. So let's put some pawns on the board. With our king. All right, so we castle in the corner. So explain to me, why is our king safe? Because we've castled.
Because it's out of the center of the board.
Right. So it's safer in the corner, is what you're saying?
Yeah, and it has a pawn shield.
Yes, it's like the pawns are like a castle wall, keeping the king safe and keeping everyone out. So let's say, let's have a look. What if black was to do an attack on our h2 pawn like that with a queen and a bishop? What could we do about that?
h3?
Yeah, we just push the pawn up to h3 and we're still pretty safe. Okay. What if instead black's queen did an attack on g2? What can we do?
f3?
We could do f3, or we could just do g3. either wouldn't matter. But see, our pawns are mobile, and so if we're in strife, they can move forwards one square and sort of cover any attacks. So it looks like our king is pretty safe. Right. Under what circumstances would we perhaps not castle?
If we've moved our pawns on the side we want to castle.
But we could castle on the other side, maybe. So, is there a circumstance where we would not castle?
If the opponent has an open file on our game side or queen side.
Yeah, we wouldn't castle into danger. What I'm thinking of is what if the queens were swapped off early in the game and maybe a couple of minor pieces? So we're sort of almost in an end game. It might be better to leave the king in the middle because the king is actually worth 4 pawns and he can help out. So sometimes we don't castle, but only if our king is going to be safe in the middle. Right, now if you wanted a really safe king position, I like the one we've set up here, the fianchettoed position, because we have a rook, a bishop, and a knight protecting the king, and 3 pawns as well. And that's pretty much safe as houses. All right, king safety. So we should understand about king safety. What do you reckon would be a second principle or factor or element in chess that we need to understand to help determine the outcome of games?
Development.
What does development give us? Not quite the right word, but you're close. If we're ahead in development, we're ahead in what?
Time.
Time, yes. All right, so let's go and have a look. So, second factor is time. And the next factor is probably the first thing everyone looks at when they see a position. What would be a third factor?
Material.
Material, correct. I'll leave the fourth one for the moment. So, have a look at material. So, material. So how does material help you? How's that going to help you win a game of chess?
Well, if you had a queen and a king compared to a king, if you had the queen, then you would obviously win.
Well, in general, a bigger army is going to beat a smaller army, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So if Napoleon's army is twice as big as Wellington's army, he's probably going to win. Now, the only restriction on that would be where his army is placed. So if, for instance, Napoleon has his knight on A1, it's not a really good knight because it can only go to 2 squares. It's a pretty lousy spot. But if his knight was sort of way up on D6 or something, like in the middle of the enemy's camp, where am I? There I go. Get rid of that rook. So if white had this lovely knight on D6, that would be fantastic. Maybe the knight's not worth just 3 pawns, but it might be worth almost a rook, because it's controlling so many sort of important squares around the centre of the board, as opposed to the one right on the end. Right, so material is good, but we need to make certain our material gets out there into the battlefield. Now, what can I do? We'll just clear off some of these bits. Okay. Now, one of the things we need to understand about the different concepts is changing one advantage into a different advantage. So let's say we had this position and you were black. What move would perhaps appeal to you? What would you be thinking about?
As black.
Yeah, you were black in this position. What move would you think about? Now, we talked about king safety being important. We talked about material being important. What about rook takes knight? What do you think?
It looks like I'm giving up the exchange.
Yes, so you're giving up the exchange. So on material, you're losing 5 points for 3, aren't you? So you'd say, no, hang on, that's a no-no. I don't want to lose 5 points for 3. But let's have a look at it. So the knight disappears and gets recaptured with the pawn. So white's pawn structure around the king is now pretty horrible. So white's gained on material, but what's he lost out on?
Position.
Not position. Think back to the first principle.
King safety.
King safety. Hang on. So now, if he gets attacked, say like with the queen and the bishop like before, he can't defend h2. He's up the creek because he can't move the pawn forward or move a pawn in the way to block. Or he might get attacked on g2. So if it was a middle game, black might say, okay, I'm happy to give up my rook for a knight, because even though I'll lose material, I'll gain on the opponent's lack of king safety. And particularly if I've got a queen on the board and some pieces on the king side, that might be good for me. So it's like changing one advantage to another. All right, material. So that's material. What was the other one we had? Let's just go back. Time. Okay. So why do you reckon time's important? Tell me about time.
Because if you're free moves up in development, that means you're 1 pawn up.
Okay. Yes, that's a general rule. 1 pawn is worth 3 tempi. So let's say we had an opening. Let's do a Queen's Gambit accepted. So white plays c4, and he says, take me. 3 pawns, you want to take me? So at the moment, he's given up a pawn. Now, why would he do that? He's down on material, but what compensation might he have?
E4.
Yeah, he could play e4. So now, what's he gained?
He's gained control of d5.
Yeah, he's controlling the center. He's controlling c5 and d5 and e5 and f5. He's probably going to get the pawn back anyway. So he's like swapping material for the moment for control of the center. All right. Now, I'll give you guys a little exercise. Let's see if I can do this. File, edit position. Yeah. All right. So a rook is worth 5 pawns, yes? So,
Yes.
all right. So let's say you're white, and you're going to give me a rook start. So bye-bye to your queen rook. Okay. But in compensation, I'm going to give you guys 5 free moves. Only you're not allowed to take anything. So we'll give you 5 free moves. You can set up the position, and we'll see whether we reckon the material's going to win, black's going to win because he's a rook up, or white's going to win because he's ahead on time. So everyone put your thinking cap on and type in the questions what 5 moves you would make if you were white, but you were a rook down. So you want to exploit the fact that you're going to be ahead on time. You can do yours on the board if you like, Derek. So what, hit me with some moves you reckon you'd like to make. And we'll compare with the others.
E4.
All right, so we want to play pawn to e4, so that's 1. What else do you want to do?
Bishop c4.
Bishop c4, all right, that's 2. Got 3 to go.
Queen F3.
Okay, so you want to put your queen out. Hang on. Whoops, where'd it go? Queen F3. Okay, that's 3. Now you're not allowed to take me on F7. So you've got only 2 moves left.
Knight H3.
Alright, so you're going to go Knight H3. Yep, and you've got 1 move to go.
And then Knight G5.
Alright, now you reckon that's a good setup?
Yeah.
Callum's gone Knight F3, Knight D4, Knight F5, E4, Knight D6, which doesn't look very good. Nathan said Fianchetto can take control of the centre maybe by E4 or E5. So, whoops, hang on, where am I? So you've chosen this setup. So what's the advantage of your setup over what the others have said?
It's forced mate.
It's forced mate in 2. I can't do anything about it. I can play maybe Knight H6 or something, but then you still just take on F7. So it's absolutely forced mate. So 5 moves is better than a rook in this position. I gave this example to some of my students at the school last week, and all of them were sort of playing E4 and D4 and Knight F3 and Knight C3 and just developing, in which case the rook would probably be better. But you're awake up and you've cottoned onto the fact that you can actually get a forced checkmate. Right, so that's cool. All right, so time, material, it all depends on the position, but as you said before, in general, maybe a pawn is worth 3 moves in development. Okay. All right, I'll give someone else a go. So thanks for helping me out with that, Derek. Okay, let's try Oliver. You there, Oliver?
Yep,
How are you today?
good.
All right, now, so we've got 3 elements. Let's just go back and remember. King, safety, time, material. And we're looking for the 4th element now that's going to help us decide our chess games. Now, let me see. Maybe I can tell you an idea I had when I was a junior. So when I was at school and I hadn't read any chess books and I knew the moves and stuff, but I had no idea what you meant to play. So I invented my very own opening. So I said to myself, what are the weakest spots on the board that I've got to protect? So what do you reckon is the weakest squares at the start of the game I need to protect?
Probably F7 and...
No, I'm white. I'm white. So I want to protect my weak squares.
F2.
Yep. So why is F2 the weakest square?
Because it only has the king protecting it.
All right. And what's the second weakest square, do you reckon?
Maybe C2.
Yes, because it's only got the queen protecting it. All right, that's very good. Okay, so I said, all right, I'm not going to let him get in on F2 with a queen and a bishop and checkmate me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play H4. Then I'm going to put my knight on H3. And I'm going to put my pawn on G3. And I'm going to fianchetto my bishop on G2. And I knew all about king safety, so I said, all right, I'm putting my king on G1 and my rook on F1 by castling. So how do you reckon I'm going so far, Oliver? Does this look like a pretty safe setup?
It's definitely king safety, but not much development.
Yeah, well, I said to myself, all right, so I've got my king safe by castling, and my knight's protecting F2, my rook's protecting F2, so I've got that pretty well covered, and my bishop's on the very best diagonal on the whole board, So I said, surely that must be a good spot for a bishop. So after I did this, I said, what do I do next? So I've got a really clever idea. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing on the queen side. So I did A4, I did B3, did bishop B2, and I did knight A3. And I called it the saucer attack because it looks like a bit of a saucer. And I figured I had everything protected. My bishop's on a good diagonal. My king's safe. All right, now everyone, have a look at my position and type in on the question box, what is wrong with my idea? What factor of chess have I neglected? The number 4 that we haven't written down yet. What have I neglected? Let's see if everyone can get the idea. Nathan says the middle is empty. Maha says development. Derek says control of the centre. Nathan says attack. Liam says development. Callum says no pawn structure to control the centre. No one's put the exact word I want. It's one word that describes what I've forgotten about. Any idea, Oliver? Can you think of the one word to describe what I've forgotten to do?
Knight positioning.
That's 2 words. That's cheating. Rachel said position. No. Well, knights aren't so good on the side of the board, though they are protecting my weaknesses. So what haven't I got? What might my opponent have that I haven't got? Nathan's saying development. Derek's saying initiative. Callum saying centre. You want another go, Oliver? Any idea?
No, I'm not quite sure.
All right. Well, let me give a sample. So I'll go back to shredder intermediate. All right, here we go. All right. So I'm going to play both sides. I'm going to play the same opening I played a second ago. All right, there we go. We've both had 9 moves. So, Oliver, what haven't I got? What am I missing? What factor have I neglected to look after?
You've looked after the 2 back ranks and letting black control the centre.
Black's controlling the centre, and because he's controlling the centre, he's got more. Come on, people. Black's got more.
Positioning?
Nope. Liam's got it. Yay! Black has more space. Space is the word I'm after. So the 4th factor in chess is space. So the most important one, king safety. Second most important one may be material, time and space. So we need to understand those 4 concepts to be a good chess player. All right, now let's go back. Where are we? All right, Oliver. So you agree Black's got more space?
Yeah.
So question, why is that good? Who cares? I've got everything covered. I've got it all protected. What's good about having more space?
Probably because you can attack more stuff and you can move more your pieces around more.
Yes, that's probably it. So the good thing about space is that it gives you greater mobility with your pieces. So let's have a look at white. So say white wanted to attack on the king side. He wanted to attack black on the king side. Now, have a look at his queen side pieces. He's got a knight on a3, a bishop on b2, and a rook on a1. So how are they going to get across to attack on the king side? They're in the wrong part of the board. And they can't get past black's centre, can they? But what can black do if he wanted to attack on the king side? His knight, instead of being on a6, his knight could maybe go to e5, so his queen knight can get into it. His bishop, instead of being trapped on b7, it can go to e6 and d5. His rook on a8, once the bishop and the queen are out of the way, he can swing that across. So it's really easy for him to move his pieces from one side of the board to the other. So that's why space is important. So you understand that, Oliver? Is that okay?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well done. All right. I'll give someone else a go. So thanks for your help with that. All right. Let's try Rachel. You there, Rachel?
Yep.
Right. You're our star tonight because you solved the puzzle. So well done. All right. Have you got any questions on those 4 principles so far? So we've got king, safety, time, material, space.
No, not really.
No.
Not really? Okay. Now, I guess your openings, you can decide which you want to go for. Like, are you going for an opening that gives you more space? Are you going for an opening that gives you a really safe king or really quick development? So, for instance, let me show you, I think it's called the Danish Gambit. So it goes like this: e4, e5, maybe nf3, nc6, d4, saying, take me. So black says, okay, I'll take you. White says, c3, take me. Black says, okay, I'll take you. White goes bishop c4, saying, take me. Black says, okay. And now white, if I can get my mouse working, takes back. All right, so what's happened in this opening, Rachel? What has white got and what's black got?
Black has more pawns.
Yeah, so black is ahead on material. So on the concept of material, he's up. He has the bigger army. All right, now, has white just blundered 2 pawns, or he has got some compensation in one of those 4 factors?
He's developed his knight and bishop.
Yeah, so he's ahead on time because he's got 3 pieces out, 2 bishops and a knight to just a knight. So he's ahead on development. Anything else has he got at the moment?
He's got a pawn in the center.
Which gives him more
Space.
space. Yes. White's got more space because he's got a pawn on the 4th rank and black hasn't got a pawn past the 2nd rank yet. So white's ahead on space and time, but he's down on material. So it's a really unbalanced game. Could be very interesting. Who's going to win? The material's going to win or the space and the time's going to win? Because the advantage of time, that's only a temporary advantage. So if white just fiddles around and moves a few pawns, black can play developing moves and catch up, and he won't be behind on time anymore. So white's got to realise that, and he's got to sort of really go for the kill quickly before black can get his pieces out. So he's got to understand how he can use his time advantage and not let it disappear. Okay, let me go back here and we'll have a look at a quick little position if I can find it. Okay. All right. Now, one of the skills, as I said before, about being a good player is to understand how you trade one advantage for another. So you're aware that there are 4 different types of advantage, and you might swap material for king safety, like we did in the previous example. Now, let me rip into this game here. This is a game I played ages ago against Daryl Johansson when he was young. And we're just merrily moving along. I attacked his bishop and chased him back. All right. Okay. So, Rachel, here we have a position. So let's have a look at using our 4 principles. So, material, what's happening with material?
Everything.
It's even?
It's quite even.
So it's numerically even, and it's not like someone's got a really horrible knight or a really fantastic rook. Maybe white's pieces are a bit better placed, but on actual material, it's even. All right. King safety. Tell me about king safety.
They're both castled.
Are they both pretty safe, or is one of them unsafe, or less safe, or what?
I guess white could be attacked more easily through the open space.
He's still got a pretty good pawn structure in front of his king, and it's very hard for black to get his pieces there. So I reckon king safety is much of a muchness. All right, what else have we got? Time. Is anyone ahead on time? For time, you could read development, perhaps. Black's move. Anyone ahead on time?
I think white is a bit more developed because the black's 2 rooks are like still in the same spot.
Right. White's in effect maybe 1 move ahead because he's got his rook on the open file, which is handy. So his rook is where it wants to be. Now, if black could just put his rook on d8 and counter, that'd be even. But black has to worry that, unfortunately, he has a pawn under attack. So he's got to defend that one first. So white's a smidgen ahead on time. All right, space. How are we going on space?
White's got more space.
Why? How did you decide
Because
that?
they've got more pieces in the center, attacking the center.
Space is generally mainly about pawns. So white's got 2 pawns on the 4th rank. Black's only got 1 pawn. So white's got a little bit more space on the queen side. All right, so you see how we're using the 4 principles of chess to analyze the position and see what's happening. So we've worked out white's a little bit ahead on time, a little bit ahead on space. So black says, all right, black's go. He says, all right, I'm going to play c5. That's going to give me a bit more space too, because now I've got 2 pawns on the 4th rank, same as white. All right, now, question for everyone. I want you to consider 2 candidate moves for white and tell me which factor they give white an advantage in. So move A, in this position, white can play a particular move, which will give him one sort of advantage, or he can play another move, which will give him a different sort of advantage. So have a think, and on the question, write down 2 moves you reckon white would consider and what the advantage would be associated with those 2 moves. I hope that's not too confusing. Everyone's thinking hard. Have you come up with any moves, Rachel, that you'd like to look at? I call them candidate moves. So what move are you looking at now? You must be looking at some move.
Maybe pawn takes c5.
All right, so one move you're looking at is pawn takes c5. All right, now what would be a second move you might look at? Because he's threatening to take your pawn on b4, isn't he? Win a pawn. So you've got to think what you can do about that. So what would be a second move you'd consider? What do you think, Rachel? He's threatening to take your pawn, so you've got to do something about that.
You tell me a move. I'll see whether right or wrong.
You're getting some help for the background, are you?
Yeah.
No one's typed this question, so I've got you all baffled. All right, I'll tell you about my second candidate. So my first candidate was what Rachel said. Pawn takes pawn on c5. My second candidate would be to push past to b5. Right, so let's do them one at a time. Let's say I choose b5. Now, what sort of advantage does that give me? Is it advantage in time, space, material, king safety? Liam's got the right answer. So type in the question, the answer. What sort of advantage does pawn to b5 give me?
Yeah, you tell him. Look at me.
What do you reckon, Rachel? You got any thoughts? Callum's got it right. Liam's got it right.
Is it space?
Space! Look, I've got a pawn on the 5th rank now. Look, there it is. I've got more space on the queen side. I've got a pawn on the 5th and the 4th. He's only got 2 on the 4th. So I've got him under pressure because I've got more space. So that would be a pretty good move. But your move is a pretty good move as well. Takes. So now he takes back. We take him. He takes back. So it looks like we've blown our advantage, perhaps. We've had a big swap off and we don't seem to have gained anything. But because of our next move, we have gained one of those 4 advantages. So what's the move? What's the advantage? Is it material, space, time, or king safety? White to play. So we decided not to go for b5 with the space advantage. He decided to go for this one, which is a different advantage. I think they need your help, Rachel. No one's typing. What do you reckon? What move could you do here? Think attacking, think aggressive. So it's not going to be a space move. It's not going to be a king safety move. Can you win material? Doesn't look like it. Callum's got the right answer. Well done, Callum. So Rachel, what move would you play for white?
Is it rook to a5?
Close. I'm going rook d5. And he moves his queen back to e7. So what have I gained there? What advantage do I now have?
Time?
Time. because I can double on the D file. My rooks move forwards. That's an attacking move, and he's had to move back. So I'll just show you what happened. So I played h4, threatening to go to h5 and undermine his knight and win his e-pawn. So he went f4, which was a silly move. I just went h5 and won. But actually what he should have done, he should have gone f6, and then I would have played queen d3. So now my time advantage, so I'm now controlling the d file. Maybe my rook's threatening to zoom up to d7 or something like that, with a double attack on the queen and on the b pawn. And he did, if he did the obvious reply, which would be rook to d8, to try and contest my time advantage, I have a killer move. I would play rook takes a7, because his rooks are overloaded. And if he takes one of my rooks, I take the other one, so I win a pawn in the game. But all because I had that time advantage of rook d5. Okay, do you get that now, Rachel?
Yep.
Yep. All right, cool. Thanks for your help for that. All right, that's the end of today's lesson. Thank you, everyone. I hope I've taught you a little bit. So remember the 4 basic principles of chess: king safety, time, material, and space. So as you go through your games, like we did with that last one, you should be thinking of your moves, and does this move gain me material? Does it gain space? Does it gain time? Does it make his king unsafe? Something like that. And you can use those principles to help you win your game. All right, now, as I said, if anyone has one of their own games they want to send in to Chess Kids, I may well have a look at that in the next few weeks, so feel free. Otherwise, I'll come up with some different material to have a chat to you about next week. So I hope you enjoyed today's lesson, and I look forward to catching up with you all next week. Thanks very much, and good night.